my pleasure today to be able to introduce the guest speaker for tonight, Commissioner Edward Gray. Edward Gray was born in Washington, D.C., but grew up in Dallas, Texas. He is a graduate of Carter High School and a graduate at Southern Methodist University, where he received his bachelor's degree and his master's degree. Commissioner Gray has mentored over 200 young men through his involvement as a founder of the 100 Black Men Coalition and also through his involvement with the Coalition of African American Progress. Gray has long been involved in local politics here in Grand Prairie and in Arlington by being a part of the educational systems of Arlington Independent School District and Grand Prairie Independent School District. Gray has advised counselors of several local organizations, including the YMCA. Gray has also been a part of politics and serving for the United States Congressman interns from Congressman Jim Mattis' office in South Dallas and in Pleasant Grove. Gray has also served as Grand Prairie Community as a board member in the Grand Prairie Youth Commission, Keep America Beautiful, Grand Prairie Airport Advisory Board, and a former chairperson of the Grand Prairie Zoning Board of Adjustments and Appeals. And he is currently on the Grand Prairie Zoning Commission. Throughout the community, he is called Commissioner, not because of his board that he serves, but because of his respect and commitment to the people he serves. Volunteers are the only human being on the face of the earth who reflect the nation's compassion, unselfish caring, and patience, and just plain loving one another. This is the motto that Mr. Gray abides by. I have the distinct honor of introducing Brother Gray because not only is he a great man in the city of Grand Prairie, but he's also one of my fraternity brothers that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and I belong to Alpha Phi fraternity. So I'm going to throw that in tonight. We have so please give yourself a big round of applause for Mr. Edward Gray.
First of all, I'd like to thank the NAACP, President Lucky in her absence, Vice President Dixon. I'd like to also thank you, the people of Grand Prairie, for coming out this evening. You could be a lot of places this evening, and one of the places you decided to come here was to come here and honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is very important to my fraternity and also to my family as well, because of that famous picture of Dr. King marching in Washington, D.C. About 4 feet behind Dr. King was my mother. My mother is now confined into a wheelchair. Her spirit, though, is not confined, much like Dr. King's spirit. Dr. King died 44 years ago. Just think about it. That is 2 generations ago. Most of us here in this room were not born when Dr. King died. Today, the NAACP president, Ben Jealous, turns 40 years old today. Just think about it. He's leading the organization that we are here today, helping commemorate Dr. King, and he wasn't even born the day that Dr. King died. You know, we talk about teamwork, and as we look across the room, Dr. King marched and preached nonviolence. He also preached unity, the unity of family. And we have black, we have white, we have Hispanic. We all are here this evening, not because we're forced to come here together, but we turn to each other instead of going to each other. So, let's take a moment, just for, can I get your attention just for 5 more minutes of your time and I'll let you go? Because my wife said I had to let you go. And everyone knows in my house, she actually runs it. Now let's look You know, in 1968, it was a vastly different country. They had this magazine called Jet Magazine. Jet Magazine had in the back of the book, it had sections of who was on TV. Now today, if Dr. King was to come back, he would also come back and he would look at a computer screen. We didn't have computer screens in 68. Nor did we have that science. I'm going to have to come down here with you. Because you can't hear me up there. I'm in Dallas, right? Right. I'm supposed to be home, right? Right. Are you with me? Yes. Okay, let's go ahead and have a talk. Okay, 50 years ago, Dr. King gave his march on Washington. When he gave his march on Washington, things were vastly different. Now, as we turn back the hands of time and we move forward, we have to realize that the children that gave the speech earlier, who gave the speeches earlier, this is very time-consuming and very disheartening.
Just take your time.
Now, I'm not even going to go back up there.
That's all right. He was with
And you wonder, when I walked down there, was I scared? I was more scared that they wouldn't go on. But I was all right because Jesus was with me.
Right.
So I'm not worried about that. So let us go back to why we're here. You know, if we go ahead and we look at the way we are communicating today, we communicate through Facebook, Twitter. You know, so we're going to go ahead and have a history lesson in a tweet. 140 characters or less. So, work with me. I've never used this before, but I had some help. Nakia and Nalia, young lady right there. Yeah, stand on up. She's helping me with my speech. This is about a dominant narrative. And you know, the dominant narrative, let me explain what a dominant narrative is. The dominant narrative is the story that you hear that has some element of truth to it, but yet you know it ain't true, but it seems to take a life of itself. You know, and they told me about a dominant narrative of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Now, y'all all remember that story, right? Now, this is the story. I'm a little older, I'm 50 plus, so let me try to remember how it goes, how they told me how it goes. We have this little girl named Goldilocks who's walking through the woods, right? Goldilocks comes up and she sees this house that got 3 bears in it. Now, these must be some very intelligent bears because they built the house. So she walks into the house. Now, Chief Guy would call it breaking and entering if they went inside the house. Not only did she go in the house, Goldilocks goes into the house. She eats up all that food. She eats up all of that food, goes upstairs, breaks some furniture up, and then gets the ice and goes to sleep. The dominant narrative from that, we seem to believe that it's a good story. Now, let's go with the other dominant narrative. The dominant narrative here is American history, how it works. We seem to believe that we live in a post-racial society.
Wow.
Now, the post-racial society was supposed to be happening after the election of President Barack Hussein Obama. So after that, everything's good. Black folks, white folks, we all live together, everything's good. So now let me go back on how that narrative is supposed to work. 1776. Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams writes the Declaration of Independence. They write the Declaration of Independence. We have the Articles of Confederation. James Madison comes along and say, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, he goes ahead and he decides to go ahead and change it because it wasn't perfect. He looks around the room. When he looks around the room, he starts counting, but he don't count no women because women can't vote. They don't have any kind of say so in any of that. So he counts only white men, but he looks at black men and he only counts one. He don't count all of them. Abraham Lincoln comes along and sees that there is a flaw in that mathematical equation. He decides to free the slaves, celebrates, go to Fort Theater, and gets shot. The South does rise again, led by Jim Crow. Jim Crow tells Plessy to sit at the back of the train. Rosa Parks decides she don't want to ride a train, she wants to ride a bus. Gets on the bus, sings a Negro spiritual, "We Shall Not Be Moved." Is promptly removed from the bus. Martin Luther King comes along, say, "I have a dream." The Voting Rights Act is passed. He starts preaching about helping poor people. He goes and organizes sanitation workers, gets shot. Jesse Jackson comes along and says, "Keep hope alive." Maya Angelou decides to hold an election. Bill Clinton is elected the first black president. How could that be? But we so happy. Bill Clinton goes to McDonald's, celebrates, orders a Big Mac and cheese and fries. Gives the change to Hillary Clinton. Barack Obama comes along, takes the change out of her hand and says, "I give you change you can believe in." This is the America we live in today. The America that we live in today is transformation. The America that we live in today is much like Amani was saying. It's America that we all have to renew the dream. We have to renew the dream from the bottom all the way to the top. And it doesn't stop. You know, this year, we're talking about the right to bear arms. That's the number one thing that everyone's arguing about now. You know, last year, the conversation was on Martin last year, but it wasn't Martin Luther King, it was Trayvon Martin. It wasn't about the right to bear arms. It was about the right to bear skills. You know, the skills that he was shot carrying with. You know, we have a different concept of what is right and what's wrong. It's the same dilemma that Martin Luther King preached about when he said that we had two Americas. It's an America that's rooted from the very beginning of its core to right now. Now, the challenge to all of us, whether we're as old as I am, as young as Nakia is to build upon that teamwork, to get beyond things that can be obstacles, such as loud alarms in the middle of a speech that you guys helped me get through. But we're only as good as the promise that we renew each year. And that is the reason why we come back year after year, turning to each other, realizing that the battle for justice can truly be won if we all work together as a team. So, in conclusion, I'd like to say again my thanks to you for allowing me to share these few moments of time with you as we take Dr. King's lesson and legacy, 140 characters or less. Thank you.